Okay, we're going to start off by removing both clutch covers and cable. Remove the clutch plate and flower nut. Okay, now that we remove both clutch covers on both sides, this side and the other side, we're going to remove the bus bar and remove the chain. We're about to remove the clutch basket. There's several ways you can do it. I like to do it this way. I just find it a little easier for me. The bolt and the clip is removed. We're now going to go ahead and use our tool to remove the clutch basket. We have the clutch basket out here. I just use a small vise. I like this small portable vise. Just, you can use any size vise. I like to put the pins so they're in between the two, and then just punch one of the pins out. We're going to end up punching all three of them out. When tapping anything, I like to use rapid tap and a good tap. I like to have nice sharp taps because this is hardened steel. But it when we tap it in here, it's going to tap in quite easy. It's going to seem like there's not a lot of thread cut into it, but it's more than sufficient to hold the shoulder bolt. We can finish tapping out all three holes, knocking out all the pins. Now we'll take our shoulder bolt and it'll accept it into the basket like that. We're going to remove this gear as well. You can do this all on the bench. I prefer to do it on the bike. Don't forget to remove the clips. Simply just remove the clutch out of the case with a block of wood, and we'll just tap onto it to remove it. Things are coming along really well. We got the clutch out, clutch spring. We're going to remove this here to get the spring off, and this is what we end up with. This is what we need. We need to reinstall this into the bike. Both bearings on each side, and the pin back into it as well with the clips, the gears, and then the basket onto it as well. We're also going to need to take this area here and we're going to slot it. So what I'll do is I'll sand this down with light sandpaper, some emery, clean it up quite well so it accepts the bearing easily onto the shaft. So there's not a lot of force going on when they're brand new. They go on really hard. I like them to go on snug, but not so you're forcing them on. So that's pretty key for me. I've also taken this and marked a line in flower nut bolt, and you can use anything. You can use a hacksaw. You can use, I like to use pneumatic tools, or you can use a Dremel tool, and we're just going to cut a slot. We've finished cutting the slot into it. I don't cut it too deep, but I cut it enough that it simply can get a screwdriver in there quite easily. We're ready to install the shaft back into the casing. I just want to make a note that the threaded side here is your basket side. So when you put it in, you don't put it in this way. You make sure it goes in this way with the threads out towards the basket. With cleaning up the shaft to accept the bearings a little easier, it was a little easier to put it back in. I just used a socket and tapped it in. It went in quite easy. And we're just gonna go in and install this our flower nut shaft back into it, and it just sits in there like that. and we're going to put the bucking bar ball bearing back into it. So you install everything else back into it, putting the half moons back in, get your basket back on, go to the other side, put your gear on, and then once that's all complete, then we can go ahead and install the new clutch. Here's a little tip for the basket with the clutch pads. I like to take them out individually and make them so they're just a little bit free moving inside the basket. That helps when it binds, when the clutch grabs it. It just seems to grab a little bit better. I also include in the kit, if you notice, this bucking bar is quite short for the stock one. I include a longer one because it's going to require a longer bar. Don't forget the ball bearing inside there. We're now going to install the bar, the adjustment bar, back into the new clutch. We're going to install the bar into the clutch. I put it in until it just starts to show on the outside here, and then we install it back into the basket like that, and then we line up our holes to accept our shoulder bolts and installing them into the basket like so, and tighten them up tight. Make sure the shoulder bolt sits flush onto the basket plate. So these are all tightened down. After installing this cover, you want to double check that you got a good angle on the bar from installing the new longer bucking bar. I give you a pretty good length when I send out the kit. So if it needs to be, if your bar is way out here, all you need to do is just remove a little bit of material off that bar so you get a nice angle. Well, that's it. We installed the SAF super clutch, and we're just going to run a little test on it.